Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone in today's class for the first elementary grade. Our textbook is We Can 1, and today inshallah we will cover Unit 1 Animals Words on page 7. This lesson will be presented by me, teacher Mazen Harbi. So let's begin. Quick revision in our last lesson. In our last lesson, we got to know 9 different and new words about different animals. And what we did last time is that we read about each of these animals, and not only this, but also we pointed at each of these pictures. So we divided this word into 3 parts. So let's start with the first part. What I need you to do is to listen, also to point to each picture that you're listening to, and also to say it after me. So let's begin with number 1. So last lesson we had words listen and point. So let's start with number 1. Number 1 is duck. Duck. Say after me, duck. Number 2, cat. Cat. Say after me, cat. Number 3, bird. Bird. Let's say bird. Very good. So here we have 3 different animals with the first part. Let's try to read it again, and this time I'm going to point at each one and say it with you. So number 1 is duck. Number 2 is cat. Number 3 is bird. Duck, cat, and bird. Now let's move on to the second part. So here is the second part from 4 to number 6. Let's point and listen to the words and say it after the teacher. So number 4 is fish. Fish. Say after me, fish. Number 5, mouse. Mouse. Say after me, mouse. Number 6, cow. Cow. Let's say cow. Very good. So this is the second part. Let's point again at the second part and say the names of these animals. So number 4 is fish. Number 5 is mouse. And number 6 is cow. Fish, mouse, and cow. Now, let's move on to the last part of the new words we have learned from last lesson. So, the last part starts from number 7 up to number 9. Let's point, listen, and say again. So, number 7 is horse. Horse. Say after me, horse. And number 8 is sheep. 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 And number 9 is chicken. Chicken. Say after me, chicken. Very well. So here is the last part where we read from number 7 to number 9. Now let's read it again while we're pointing and saying these different names. So number 7 goes with horse, 8 is sheep, and 9 chicken. Horse, sheep, and chicken. So these were the 9 words that we have learned last time, where we said that it is important for us that we know at least, or we can name at least 3 different animals, and not only this, but we also should know the sound of each one. which is another exercise that we have did from last time. Last time also, after we listened, after we pointed, after we said with the teacher, we had another exercise. And that exercise was about to listen and to make the sound of each animal. So what we did is we listened to different sounds for different animals, and not only this, but also we have written these sounds. So now let's start by remind ourselves with the sound of each of these animals, and then we can continue to start our lesson for today. So the first animal we have listened to from the previous lesson was the animal which is a bird. And usually the sound of a bird will sound like this word, tweet, tweet. The sound of a bird usually sound like these two words, tweet, tweet. So when you listen or when you read these words, try to make the sound so you know how the bird can, or how the sound of a bird sounds like. And also the other sound or the other animal that we listen to the sound of, which is the cow. And we said that cows usually make a sound that can be written like this, moo and moo. Moo and moo, these are the sounds that usually the cow can make. So we said that try to make the sound by reading this so you know what is the sound of a cow sounds like. And also after this we listened to the sound of a horse. And we said that usually a horse sound will sound like neigh, 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 neigh. And we said that when you listen to the sound of a horse, or when you read this, the sound of a horse, then you can make the same sound, and just to try to know what is the sound of a horse would sound like. And after listening to the horse, here we have the sound of a sheep that we can read it here by saying ba and ba. And we said that after we listen, you can make the same sound. You can make or similar sounds when you read these words. It will help you to know just how or what is the sound of a sheep will sound like. And finally, the last animal we did talk about last time, which is the chicken. And we said that we listened to the sound of a chicken, and we said also that we can read the sound and we can make the sound. So as we can see here we have two words, which is clock and clock. And we said that when we read this word, we can try to make the same sound of a chicken, the same sound of a chicken. So from our last lesson, it is important that we are able to do two things. The first is to name at least 3 animals from the 9 animals that we have read, like a horse, a chicken, a fish, a turtle, and the other animals. Also, we said the second important thing is to try to make the sound of at least 3 animals. To make a sound of at least 3 animals. This will make it more interesting for you when you just get to know closer these animals, about their names, about how do they sound like. So let's get to know our objectives for today's lesson. In our lesson today, we hope that you will be able to, number 1, identify names of animals like we did with the last lesson, where we read about different 9 animals, and also be willing to listen to short digital and recorded materials. And this is also as we did last time when we listened to the sound of different animals. And utter simple words and numbers so you can know how to pronounce simple words. And finally, to read and point to words and photos. To read and point to different words and also to different photos. So what we're going to do today is that we're going to know some names of animals and also to pronounce or to utter some words and even to read and point to words and photos. So, I would like you please to open your books on page 7. I would like you please to open your books on page 7. Now, on page 7, we're going to listen to a chant. And that chant is called Old MacDonald. Old MacDonald. So what we're going to do is that we're going to chant and we're going to make the sounds. So you're going to hear this chant in different rhythms. But what you can do is that you can chant it again with your own rhythms. This way, and also you can call someone and have him read this chant so he can or she can make new rhythm as well. So now, we will read this chant. You're going to listen to this chant in a certain rhythm, and after this, it will be your turn to chant it again with different rhythms and different sound. So, let's begin by reading this chant. After we do it, we're going to point at each word and listen to it for the second time. So the first one, or the first time we listen to the chant, it says, Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm he had some cows, E-I-E-I-O. With a moo-moo here and a moo-moo there, here a moo, there a moo, everywhere a moo-moo. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. So this is our chant. And I am very sure that you can chant it with different rhythms. Now let's listen to this chant for the second time, and this time I'm going to point and I would like you to point after me so we can read it word by word so we have better understanding of this chant. So this chant, it talks about a farm and someone whose name Old MacDonald, and that person had a farm. And with this farm, he had some cows, and these cows make the sound of moo-moo as we have learned. What did we say the cow would sound like? The cow would sound like, or the sound of a cow would say, moo and moo. So, let's listen again with pointing, and then we can discuss further. So, Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm, he had some cows, E-I-E-I-O, with a moo-moo here and a moo-moo there. Here a moo, there a moo, everywhere a moo-moo. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. So, again, this chant talks about someone, his name is Old MacDonald, and that person had a farm. And what we need to do, that farm has different cows. As we can see here in this picture, it has different cows, and these cows make the sound of, this is the sound of a cow, it is moo moo. So, in the second part, you can listen to a moo that is near here, hear a moo, and also there a moo. Everywhere is a moo, which means that everywhere there are cows. Everywhere, as we can see here, there are cows. So this is why Old MacDonald had a farm. So he has all of these cows. So this is our chant. It is important that you can chant this chant again with different rhythms. So you can ask your classmate or ask your family member or even your friends just to come in and try to chant this chant. It will be, of course, a good chant because it talks about an animal that we all like, which is a cow. So now it is advice time, and it is important that we all treat animals kindly. So whenever we see an animal or when we have an animal raised in our house, as our religion said, as our Prophet Muhammad asked us to do, it's very important that we treat them kindly. We treat animals and we respect animals kindly, and we don't hurt them. This is a very important thing to do and also to keep in mind. So now, at the end of the lesson, it is important, as we said, that you are able to say the names of 3 animals and also to make the sounds of other 3 animals. So now we have reached the end of our lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.